everyone, D Square here, with of course another D Square Talks or Nerd Rages. I'm of course your host, D Square. How is everyone doing tonight? Hopefully we get some chat going on here. If not, that's okay. I'm more than happy to just talk with you and talk with those who stumble upon my channel, or perhaps some subscribers. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing to my channel, liking this video, hitting the notification bell to make sure you don't miss any of my uploads. I like to talk about geek culture things, comic book movies, video games, comic books themselves. I do Uncanny X-Men comic book reviews, and if I ever get any more suggestions on any of this series, I would love to review those series as well. Please like this video if you do enjoy it, of course, and share this on your social media and let everyone know how cool of a guy I am. I am, of course, a comic book extraordinaire, and that is official, as I was named so by radio host goes by the name of G. Bush. He hosts the Barbershop Sports Talk radio show on 92.3 The Fan here in Cleveland, Ohio. I was on the radio show for a little bit past Saturday, talking about the Avengers Endgame movie. Spoiler free, of course. I may even post that to my channel here. Talked about predictions about the Marvel Universe going forward, and talked about The Dark Avengers as a movie that might come out that people would be interested, especially those who like anti-heroes and a darker tone comic book movie. But nonetheless, so we are here tonight to discuss Game of Thrones Season 8, the final season, and why it's good. I know we only have one episode left. I know there's been a lot of complaints about the writing of this season, and I can certainly understand why. People have problems with it. I have problems with some of the character choices, the choices that the characters are making, but the writing itself and the way it's playing out, it has not made me, become one of those people that say, oh, this is bad, the writing is terrible. Here's why people think that. And really the biggest thing is, spoiler alerts, Daenerys Targaryen basically turns full-on crazy villain. And this has upset some people because, throughout this whole series, even more so than Jon Snow, they've been setting her up to be like the hero, the hero of the downtrodden, breaker of chains, and all those platitudes. But as she's now in Westeros, she's come about, losing some of the closest people to her, even losing 2 dragons. You can certainly understand that it's pushed her to the edge. And they actually have set this up. A lot of people have complained that, this wasn't set up, this was rushed. And I do agree to some extent that this last season is somewhat rushed, being only 6 episodes long. It certainly could have been fleshed out more. I'm not quite sure why they were in a hurry to finish this season. I don't know. I don't know why they were in a hurry to finish this series as a whole, as it's very popular and makes money. I really don't get it. But to say that this is a bad season is incorrect. It is incorrect. They have set up Daenerys. She is a Targaryen, and they've said multiple times that whole adage of every time a Targaryen is born, the gods flip a coin and everyone holds their breath to see what sides it lands on. Daenerys herself, we have followed her journey throughout this Game of Thrones series, and see that, hey Sam, what's going on? Yeah, no, exactly. Sam's with me there. You saw it coming. I mean, she's a Targaryen. Look at all the stuff that she's gone through in her life, from being mistreated by her brother, getting with Khal Drogo, not really being in a great relationship there, but then it then blossoms into a better relationship where she actually loves him, and then he gets killed. I mean, just all the stuff that she's got this, complex of being the true heir to the throne. I mean, to me, this really didn't come out of nowhere. I understand that, those of you, and this is a hack joke at this point, but I'm going to go for it. Those of you that have named their daughters, Daenerys are now regretting it. And I'm sure there's a lot of that going on, especially with, people that looked to Daenerys as a way to be empowerment to women. So I can definitely understand the disappointment, but I'm with Sam here in the chat. I saw this coming. If you didn't think it was going to happen, I'm not quite sure where your head was at. Maybe it was wishful thinking. There's someone at work. I talked to a colleague at work, and she's telling me how she almost got a dragon tattoo, but she's now distraught over the fact that Daenerys, not only did she turn villain, but she turned villain like to the 10th degree. She's strafing her dragon, like going down each and every street to make sure each and every street is in flames, instead of going right to the Red Keep. So that's why I think people are saying they're not liking the season 8. But I think that they are touching base on all the characters. I think people are upset because it didn't go how they wanted it to go or predicted it to go. I think that's an unfair reason to say that a season of one of the most popular TV shows in the history of mankind is not well, just because it wasn't doing what you wanted to do or didn't do what you predicted it to do. And I'll be the first to admit, I thought that this, the battle of, between Daenerys, the Northmen, and Cersei and the Golden Company, I thought it was going to be a much, bigger battle, but it turned out to be an absolute slaughter. And, I do have, a complaint, I guess. I was saying before this episode, okay, this is what they got to do. They've got to wait till nighttime. Then that's when Daenerys has to use the cover of night, possibly even wait till there's some bad weather, then go in with Drogon, take care of all those Scorpion ballistas that are on top of the battlements of King's Landing and on Euron Greyjoy's ships. You have to go in at night and do that. Well, that's precisely what she did, except it wasn't at night, it was in broad daylight, and somehow everyone became inept with their Scorpion ballistas. Nobody could hit Drogon. Sure enough, she's destroying every one of them. And about 15-20 minutes into the episode, I can remember saying, okay, everything's going way too good here. Especially when you see the Golden Company, they're sitting there, they're ready to go, and then Captain Strickland starts like hearing all the stuff behind him, and then boom, the castle gates and the walls come down, and most of the Golden Company forces are destroyed straight up right there. And I'm like, okay, something's got to give. They can't just run this stuff, right? They can't just obliterate Cersei's army like that. There's got to be a stray Scorpion somewhere. Someone's getting messed up. But about 20 minutes, half hour into the episode, at least I understood. Okay, the Daenerys is not stopping. They did the whole ring the bells thing, and it seemed to make her even crazier. Even the Northmen, frankly, because of Grey Worm, so he's kind of just going berserk. Even after the Cersei troops, or not Cersei troops, but the Lannister troops put down their weapons, they stop for a little bit, and then Grey Worm just kind of flips out and starts attacking them again. Just really, really crazy stuff, but you knew what was happening. Daenerys is the bad guy. The Game of Thrones is going to be between her and Jon. And I like it. We've only got one episode left, so it's obviously not going to be a long, drawn-out, conflict. Certainly it's going to get resolved pretty soon, but I think it's going to be cool. They're both Targaryen, so, if she makes Drogon hit him with fire, it shouldn't kill him or anything. He should be resistant to that. And even furthermore, Drogon might disobey his master because Jon is rightfully, king or the rightful heir to the Iron Throne. He is the rightful heir, to the Targaryen destiny. So Drogon could, being a dragon and being able to communicate with the Targaryens telepathically and whatnot, he may decide like, no, Daenerys, Jon outranks you. So nope, not going to happen. So I think it's very interesting. I think it's very good. I do not understand the calls for the writers' heads on this season. I think the first 2 episodes were great, letting a lot of the characters reunite or meet for the first time and talk to each other around the hearth fire. Really getting everything ready before that epic battle of Winterfell, which, okay, I'll acknowledge another complaint here, and that's the darkness of that episode, but okay, otherwise, my complaints are with the characters. My complaints are with the dumb decisions that Jon Snow and Daenerys Targaryen are making. You know what, Sam? I actually think that too. Okay, and I think there's a lot of merit to Tyrion taking the throne. I think it's going to be like Tyrion or Sansa. I think Jon Snow and Daenerys are going to end up both dying in some way, shape, or form. But just think about it. Tyrion was the one that told Daenerys about, Varys's betrayal. He's the one that let Jaime go. I mean, I know he's got this air about him of like, oh, he's making all these crappy decisions, blah, blah, blah. But in the end, he was right about Cersei. He knew better than Cersei knew herself that like, hey, you're human here. You want your kids to live. You want to live. The end of your reign doesn't have to be the end of your life. And look, he was correct. Now, she didn't reveal that till like a moment before she died. I agree, Sansa wants the North, but I don't know. She's slick. She learned from Cersei, so I'm with you there. I think Tyrion or Sansa may end up on the throne because at this point, they are the wittiest characters on the show. Jon Snow and Daenerys are both just unhinged, making dumb decisions. And mind you, understand this. I'm not poking fun at people that like Daenerys and are now salty that she's now the bad guy, because I like Jon Snow from the start, and he's turned out to be an idiot. He's turned out to be a complete moron. Theon Greyjoy outshined him in the Battle of Winterfell. Sansa is smarter than him, and Arya is kicking more butt than him. In fact, I'm gonna, renew. So I did predict that Jaime would kill Cersei and become Azor Ahai. That prediction, I was wrong. I was wrong there. They died as the crypts crumbled around him. My other prediction that I made on my Twitter is that Arya would end up killing the Dragon Queen, because I seen this progression even at the beginning of this season. I saw her just getting uppity about the North and all this stuff. So and now Jon Snow's not wanting a relationship, and hey, who can blame him? That's his aunt, and she's flipping out about that, flipping out about not being the rightful heir to the Iron Throne, which has culminated in her completely doing what they meant not to do, and that is destroy King's Landing, turn everyone into ashes. But yep, in this episode, she is using Drogon basically as a very effective nuclear weapon, and there is not going to be a King's Landing for her to rule. So I don't know if she's planning on ruling from Dragonstone, rebuilding. I don't know. We've only got one more episode to see. So that's my case. That's why I think this is a good season. Yeah, it's not doing exactly as we expected. It's not even exactly doing what we want. But, it is compelling. We are seeing some, story arcs that are wrapping up here. I understand it's not towards a book, and maybe because I didn't read the books that I'm not so uppity about that. Heck, I've had to learn to chill out with the whole comic book thing, with the comic book movies not being exactly like the comic books. So, I understand that sentiment, but, you do have to realize these are two separate entities, two separate universes. Yep, I've heard that. Sam calling in the chat there about Arya killing Green Eyes. Yeah, Daenerys was, I know the actor has green eyes, but Yeah, I think Arya's going to be the MVP yet again. Which is cool, which is fine with me, which is unexpected. Everybody expected it to be Jon Snow, but again, and I'm kind of salty here because he's my favorite character of the show, but he is completely useless this season, and Arya's the one getting it done. So I cannot disagree with that, Sam. Absolutely. So, but now let's talk about really the coolest part of this whole episode, and that's Clegane Bowl. That is Clegane Bowl. We got it. We got it in epic fashion. You know, they meet up with each other. Of course, I was thinking about the high ground thing from the Revenge of the Sith because, you know, the Hound is at the bottom of the steps and the mountain is at the top there. They have that fight. We finally get to see what the mountain looks under his armor, and it's, you know, like an ugly, decaying corpse. You know, I think Sandor, or the Hound, as you want to call him, whatever at this point, I think he did an awesome job. I think he was just fighting something that you can't hurt or kill. And so I would have liked to see the Clegane Bowl end with a Hound victory. It does unfortunately seem as though the Clegane Bowl does end in a tie, which is lame, but understandable. They basically made the mountain indestructible, and, you know, the Hounds, you know, stabbing them every which way, stab them through the chest, stab them through the eye. This freaking thing just isn't going down. So he does the only thing he can do. He tackles them through a wall. They go in a pit of fire, and we'll see what happens there, assuming that they both die. But Sandor does seem to have some sort of relationship with the Lord of Light, so I don't know, he may survive. That would be cool. That would be really cool if the mountain got burned up and the Hound survived the big fire. That would be awesome. The Hound is probably my second or third favorite character. All right, guys. Well, that's pretty much my thoughts on that. You know, if you're one of those haters and you are, you know, if you're watching this, you know, come at me in the chat. Let me know why. I mean, why are you saying this is such a bad season? I understand it's not going exactly according to the books or as you think the books are going to go. I understand all the Daenerys fans that are probably really upset that she, you know, went from being the breaker of chains, this woman empowering character, to an evil dragon queen who's killing women and children in the streets. So, I mean, I understand being disappointed with some of the characters' decisions. Heck, look at me. I still can't get over the really stupid game plan that they had with the Battle of Winterfell, okay? I don't know why they sent the Dothraki out there. I don't know why they just had one trench. They should have had like 10 trenches, all in rings around Winterfell. They should have had the Dothraki behind those trenches and basically riding around as the undead are trying to climb over. They're riding around, they're killing them as they're trying to climb over. Okay, look, all right, they're pretty much over this trench, so let's fall back and continue. And then finally, when all 10 trenches have been walked over by the undead and they finally made it to the castle walls, the Dothraki could have then went inside the castle in safety as the Unsullied were on top of the battlements, just jabbing with their spears as the Whites come up, and that's how somebody with sound strategy would have done it, and they just didn't. So believe me, my favorite character is just really disappointing me left and right here in this season. I understand that, but I'm still interested. I'm still being very entertained as I sit, you know, with my wife and watch this on Sunday nights, and I'm looking forward to see how it all concludes. And if what I predict doesn't happen, or if what I want doesn't happen, that's okay. That's called, you know, not being predictable. And in this day and age where every piece of entertainment, whether it be a movie, TV show, or video game, is derivative of what has already been out for the past 30 years, I can certainly appreciate something not being predictable. I mean, I like being right, who doesn't? But You can't say something isn't good just because it didn't go the way you didn't want it to go. And I truly am sorry for those that are disappointed in Daenerys being evil. And if someone actually did name one of their children Daenerys or got some sort of tattoo, hey, own it. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be sad. Own it. You know, be a dragon. Being a dragon's not bad. Alright guys, well, we are coming up here on about a half hour and pretty much out of wind as far as Game of Thrones goes. Not sure if there's anything else anyone wants to talk about. Certainly still an exciting time to be a nerd. Star Wars is warming up now that we've dealt with Endgame. Such a great movie. You can see my spoiler review with my brother Volsker on my channel. That's about an hour. It's a really cool discussion. I suggest you check that out. But we've got Star Wars Episode 9, and I was geeked out with Palpatine's laughter at the end of the last trailer. Now we're hearing that George Lucas is involved and that this is going to be a callback to not only the original trilogy, but the prequel trilogy, which, again, full disclosure, I am one of those goofy Star Wars fans that really likes the prequels. Don't know what to tell you. I like lightsabers. I like people flipping with lightsabers. I think it's really cool. But nonetheless, so they're going to, really doing a lot of callbacks to each series. Yes, Alfredo in the chat, I'm reading that. So going back to Game of Thrones real quick. Absolutely, they have been dropping hints throughout this whole series that Daenerys was going to go mad. Her father went mad. Again, that old saying of, when a Targaryen is born, they flip a coin and the whole realm holds their breath to see where it lands. I mean, exactly. This is not... I understand people being disappointed, but this is not out of nowhere. People that claim that this turn is out of nowhere, you are wrong. You are either just not paying attention or for your own reasons just not acknowledging that this has been set up. It has. There was a chance it wasn't going to happen like this, but yeah, people just made her the heroine. Absolutely. People decided that she was the heroine. Look at all this stuff that she did. Again, a lot of female empowerment. I get it. I get the metaphor. She did do a lot of cool stuff. Heck, the coolest thing on the show is the dragons, and she is the mother of dragons. Not only the mother of one dragon, so I definitely understand why she is a popular character. But this is a way. This is a viable way for it to go. So again, if you're claiming that this isn't right, it really is just from your frustration because you like this character and you didn't want to root for a villain. But that whole Harvey Dent, Dark Knight quote. You either die or live long enough to become a villain. There is a lot of truth to that. Yeah. Shit, the daughter of the Mad King is going to save us. That is, what... That was kind of a ridiculous notion now that you think about it. And think about what she went through in her life. I mean, there's just no way that she was going to be, all rainbows and unicorns with running around with 3 dragons, losing all the people she lost. I mean, she can't be mad at it. It's character progression that makes sense, whether you like it or not. It makes sense. So yeah, we will see this Sunday, the last episode of the season, the last episode of the whole entire Game of Thrones series. They're going to have some other Game of Thrones shows. There's going to be a prequel, things of that nature. I don't know if it's going to be as good. Although I really didn't hop on a Game of Thrones until like season 4 or 5. Because honestly, I wasn't a big fan of the character, the first season. I was like, this is a dark world with characters I don't like. Everybody's a bastard, and I'm really not a fan of any of this. But as the series went on, you did get introduced to characters that I did end up identifying. Obviously, Jon Snow, he was like the one good guy. Brienne ended up being, good throughout the series. So, I mean, it had to grow on me, but I really like these past 2 seasons where the high fantasy elements have really been turned up a notch, and that's what I'm into it for. I'm into it, for the high fantasy. If it was up to me, I want a show with like wizards launching fireballs and stuff like that, But, this ain't it. They don't make a lot of that. Even with Lord of the Rings, it's all kind of what I call lowbrow fantasy. You make fire with the tinder, and you have this crystal, and it's more about wisdom than it is about magic. But it's still cool. Gandalf is still a cool wizard. Alright guys, well, that's pretty much, unless anyone's got any other comments here. Blood Moon, yep. I'm going to hopefully be talking more about Star Wars here in the future, now that Game of Thrones will be done. Endgame is winding down. We've got Star Wars Episode 9. I've even gone back to playing the Star Wars MMO, which I enjoy. I play it more as a first player, a single player game. I don't really group up with people. That's really just not my thing. It's never been my thing, but I am enjoying that. It's kind of getting me hyped up for more Star Wars stuff. I really hope it's good. I'm, again, one of those goofy people. Not only did I like the prequels, I did like The Last Jedi. Was it what I wanted or expected? No, but I'm not going to call something bad because it's not what I want. It wasn't what I want. It wasn't what I expected. That's not that's not good. You shouldn't do that. So, all right, guys. Well, I'm going to bid everyone adieu. I'm going to go ahead and hop on some Star Wars. I may go ahead and stream it on my channel here for those that are interested. Oh, well, we got some comic book. Any thoughts about the X-Men movie? Yeah, I got a lot of thoughts about the X-Men movie. So I'm pretty sure I've ranted a little bit about my problems with some of the earlier X movies. I mean, the X1 was fine. I just didn't like the black leather ensemble. I really wanted more comic accurate costumes. X2 was pretty good. X3 is where it totally just goes bonkers with the Juggernaut and the Dark Phoenix, and just rushing that whole Dark Phoenix. So First Class was good, although I didn't like the fact that it was not the right. They should have, if X-Men First Class should have been Cyclops, Jean Grey, Beast, Iceman, and Angel. That's the First Class. Outside of that, I really enjoyed that movie. I really, really enjoyed that movie. I did. And then we had Days of Future Past, which made everything. It's probably the best X-Men movie outside of X2 or First Class. I don't know. Those are all pretty close. But it set everything right. It set everything right. It was such a relief. It was like, cool, we're back on track here. And then they come out with Apocalypse. And I was so excited for Apocalypse. And then I go to watch the movie, and it's like the furthest thing from Apocalypse. It was just greatly disappointing. More time continuity errors that they just fixed. And so here we are with that new cast doing Dark Phoenix yet again. I'm sorry, I'm blurring out because I'm in the table. Yeah, they do. This is the second time they've tried to do the Dark Phoenix story. Each time they did it, they didn't give it the time that it's needed. Okay? Jean Grey's turn into the Dark Phoenix should take several movies, if not a complete movie trilogy. We're talking about, like, as far as comic books are concerned, the holy gospel here of X-Men, which is the Dark Phoenix saga, and each time it is rushed and it is done incorrectly. So that's my first thought on the Dark Phoenix movie is, this storyline not done right yet again. Okay? And then my other pet peeve here is that Mystique is not a good guy. I was okay with it in First Class. I was okay with them going the whole, her and Charles Xavier knew each other and they had a past. But this whole, hey, Jennifer Lawrence is one of the best actors, one of the most popular actors out there, and we happen to have her on a movie deal to play Mystique, so now we've got to make Mystique a good guy. That sucks. That's not Mystique. So, I guess because I critique this sort of thing now on my channel, I'm going to have to go see that movie. But I honestly wasn't going to. I honestly was going to boycott it. To me, the best X-Men movies out there are the Deadpool movies. The problem with all of Fox's X-Men movies is we never actually get to see like the X-Men in their prime. It's either like before they start, before they get going, or after the fact. We never get to see that middle part where like it's a fully formed, fleshed out team doing X-Men cool stuff. We never get to see that, fighting Sentinels, fighting the Mutant Liberation Front or the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. We never get to see any of that. We always get to see them before or past their prime, and it's really, really annoying. I don't know what she's doing there, other than like she's after Apocalypse, like she's become like the de facto team leader instead of Cyclops, which it should be. She's the team leader, and you see her. I instantly get mad when they show a picture of them flying, in the X-Jet or the Blackbird, whatever you want to call it, and you see her, in the front seat. Like, oh, why is Mystique with the X-Men? It's so stupid. Why is Mystique trying to talk Jean Grey off the Dark Phoenix ledge? That's not that character whatsoever. Again, I swear to you, I understand that these cannot be the exact storylines of the comics. I understand they're going to change things. But when it doesn't make sense, it pisses me off. And the only reason Mystique is a good guy and is as a prominent character as she is in these now 4 movies is because she is played by Jennifer Lawrence. So that's my thought. That's my thoughts on the Dark Phoenix. I'm gonna go see it so I can talk about it. And you know what? I may actually enjoying it because I'm expecting a dumpster fire. I pleaded with Disney to not release this movie. Just let the X-Men die for 3, 4, 5 years. Or maybe just a year or 2. Slowly start to introduce some elements of the X-Men story into the MCU. And then in 5 years, let's get our awesome Professor X and the Uncanny X-Men team up. Let's do it right. Let's just kill this thing and do her right. But I guess yeah, I'm hating. At least there's the dead. Thank the Lord. I mean, thank God for the Deadpool movies. And thank God even more that Colossus is in them and he's comic accurate. I love the fact that Deadpool does what it does, and it's like you either know this stuff or you don't. They don't force feed it to you. You either know the character or you know the situation or you don't. And that's the way it ought to be. So I think it's going to be crap, Alfredo. I really do. I'll watch it so I can talk about it. Maybe it will be a good movie, but I know I'm just going to be sitting there looking at Jennifer Lawrence the whole time and thinking, why are you not trying to kill the X-Men? Well, I know why. Because you're generally played by Jennifer Lawrence, so they have to make you a prominent character and they have to make you a good guy. And I think that's stupid. I really, really do. Just about as stupid as having the Juggernaut in a movie, referring to the third X-Men, not the Deadpool, where they do Juggernaut right there. But having Juggernaut in A, making him a mutant when classically he isn't, and B, he's not Charles Xavier's stepbrother, which that's kind of a big part of that whole character. I wouldn't, like I said, if I wasn't doing this YouTube thing, if I wasn't a professed X-Men comic book fan, I wouldn't even watch it because I have no expectation for it whatsoever. I've even heard that the final battle in that movie was supposed to be in space. It has since been reshot and is now down on the Earth somewhere. So nothing about it appeals to me. It really doesn't. I mean, Nightcrawler, maybe see some cool Nightcrawler stuff. Maybe Cyclops will come into his own, but they've got to wrap all this up, so it's not going to be anything that's followed up on or anything like that. So, yeah, I'll see it, but I won't like it. And if I like it, it's going to be because somehow between now and then I found a way to not care about them shitting on my favorite comic book franchise. Yeah. All right. Well, it is getting late here, guys. We're going to go ahead and end it there. We will see you on my next video, on my next D Squared Talks, where we'll be discussing the last episode of Game of Thrones Season 8, the series finale. I think it's going to be highly, highly, highly entertaining. I think it's going to throw people for a loop. And right now I am voting and hoping for Arya to do her thing and take that Targaryen Mad Queen out. Take her out. She's got to go. Drogon, you're Jon's now. Or rather, Aegon Targaryen. You're his now. Because he's not a crazy dude. He's actually a good guy. Stupid, doesn't know a thing about military strategy, but he's a good guy. All right, guys. Well, thank you for interacting with me today, Alfredo and Sam. I appreciate that so much, guys. Again, please subscribe to this channel if you find comic book, video games, and other nerd topics I talk about. Game of Thrones while that lasts. Just, yeah. Come see me again sometime, okay? Have a good night, everyone. Peace and love.